Hello, Gold Derbyites. Welcome back to our special Awards Magnet Emergency Post Emmys pod record. I'm Deputy Editor Ethan Alter. I'm here with senior editors and veteran Emmy campaigners, Denton Davidson and Marcus James Dixon, our senior editors. Welcome, gentlemen. We made it. We made it through the Emmys. You two made it through another Emmy season. You were on so many carpets at so many events. Congratulations on getting to the finish line.
Yes. I never want to hear the phrase "the Pit versus Severance" again in my entire life.
Thank you. I concur. And the studio finally did what we were all waiting for it to do. So it's good. It's like a nice little bow. But there were some shocks and surprises, so there's still plenty to talk about.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it was a very surprising night overall. I think we all of us sort of went in expecting certain narratives to be borne out, but actually we were throwing some curveballs, which was really great. And, it certainly made up for the fact that, unfortunately, the host, Nate Bargatze, was not on his best game, I think it's safe to say, last night. So I think those surprises made up for some of the weaker hosting moments of the evening.
The whole thing with the Boys and Girls Club, it was a really, really good idea. And I feel like it would have been a great 5-minute joke at the beginning and then don't mention it again. But the fact that every time Nate came on stage, he was not being a host, he was being a scorekeeper. Like, look at the score now. And it's like that became his identity on the program. And it wasn't ideal for him. I feel like it would have been better if he came out and just made jokes about what was going on and kind of ignored the money that was, they were losing by the seconds.
It didn't help that there was an immediate notice in a shift of energy when the first presenter was Stephen Colbert, and it was like, oh wow, this is what a host feels like. Like, he walked out first, and it was immediately like I breathed a sigh of relief. The cringe was over. I was calm again. So yeah, I mean, it's tough to host for your first time, I'm sure, but not a strong debut, unfortunately.
Yeah, no. It was not a case of someone thinking that, oh, he'll definitely be invited back again. Unlike Nikki Glaser with the Golden Globes this past year, who made an immediate impression. I think Nate Bargatze, he's got a flourishing stand-up career, so he probably doesn't need the Emmys, but he probably shouldn't count on this as a regular paycheck going forward after this year. But let's dive into the awards themselves. Now, obviously, as we said, the Pitt versus Severance battle was the big thing going into this night, and it was decided decisively in favor of the Pitt finally. So we're done with that. We're done with that contest, and we probably won't see a rematch anytime soon because Severance isn't coming back for at least another 2 years, probably. So if the Pitt comes back next year, it'll be the Pitt versus something else again. This win was pretty much telegraphed when it won Best Casting at the Creative Arts Emmys last week, or the week before last. And it certainly seems like that was the decisive factor this year instead of overall nomination count, where Severance led with 27. It was really that sort of Best Casting was the bellwether more than anything else. And is that sort of in your minds the thing as well that sort of tipped the scales in favor of Pitt?
Yeah, Severance didn't have a bad night, though. I mean, they got the most Emmys still of drama, and Britt Lauer won, right. Tremel Tillman won. So it was interesting to see that, the Pitt won with just 5 Emmys. That's not typical, especially after a year after Shogun just totally dominated, and then you have the studio and comedy. So it was interesting to see that, and my reasoning for predicting Severance initially was that I was like, oh, it's going to win directing and writing. How is it going to win both of those? The last show to win both of those and lose Best Drama was NYPD Blue in 1997 to Law and Order. And then, of course, it lost both of them, but not to the Pitt, to Andor and Slow Horses. So it was like, who saw that coming? And as soon as that happened, I was like, okay, theory out the door, the Pitt is winning this.
I'll tell you who saw Slow Horses coming. 0.27% of people. It was in 7th place in our predictions. We saw this last year. There was Lamar Morris was in 7th place. So every once in a while, something crazy like this happens. And that definitely was, for me, the craziest shock of the night because of how low it was in our odds. And I know you maybe want to talk about Jeff Hiller later, but Andor was in 3rd place for writing. So that was kind of in the ball game, but I mean, Slow Horses, wow, what a shocker.
Right. And that was the case, Marcus. I think you mentioned you called it out previously how in that case both Severance and the Pitt had 2 episodes nominated in that category. So we definitely could see a vote splitting situation that allowed for the creation of a spoiler coming in there.
Yeah, in my brain, Ben Stiller would have won for directing Severance if the other director for Severance wasn't nominated. I think that was a classic vote split. And then we talked about the Pitt in their episode titles. So is it possible the two Severances and the two Pitts kind of split the votes in directing and allowed for Slow Horses to come up through the middle? I mean, it's possible.
That is possible, but Severance only had one for writing.
Yeah.
Right. But and there the popularity of Andor definitely helped. But I do wonder, to your point about the sort of similar titles for the Pit, like if someone was voting for the Pit, which episode are you voting for writing? Even if you don't have Severance in the mix, that creates enough of a spread that the fan base for Andor could just can take advantage of that. So it does seem like multiple nominees in a category is always a problem, and it's always going to be an issue potentially. That one clear.
Yeah, and Andor actually won 5 Emmys this year, tying it with the Pit. So, I mean, it makes you wonder, how did Diego Luna not get a nomination for Best Actor if they clearly loved this season of Andor so much?
Right. Yeah, he was one of my hope dictions early on. I really thought that because of the popularity, because they're not coming back, it was the end. They'd finish off Andor. It seemed like this would be the time to honor Diego Luna's performance. So it is surprising that didn't. And Genevieve O'Reilly too. Just not seeing them break into the acting races was a surprise for sure. But so that's where the drama divide left. With comedy, the studio ran the field pretty much, ran the table, ran the field. It was the dominant freight train. I was thinking up to the end, maybe Martin Short beats Seth Rogen because Rogen's not necessarily thought of as an actor. But as you said on our previous pod, just people were ticking off studio boxes all the way down. That was the one that people just coalesced around in a very real way.
Yeah, I will say it was nice to see Hannah Einbinder actually break through that, though. I mean, she was one of the ones that was able to prevail, even up against Catherine O'Hara and Catherine Hahn. Maybe there was a vote split there. I don't know if there was too much. We talked about that before. I think Catherine O'Hara was clearly the front runner of those two. But considering Hannah had lost every season up until now, it was nice to see her finally win. So we got one breakthrough on the studio.
I was so happy for Hannah, but I did switch to Catherine O'Hara after the Creative Arts. After it won 9 awards at the Creative Arts, I'm like, okay, this is probably going to go 6 for 6. It was up for 6 categories. It only won 4. But I mean, come on, only won 4. It got 13 wins, which is 2 more than the record of The Bear. And I kind of feel this overwhelming, exhale from Hollywood. Like, okay, now the studio is funnier than The Bear. It's if you ask me, it's a better show than The Bear. So there's this happiness today that The Bear does not have that title anymore.
Right, a genuine comedy. You don't feel weird about voting for the studio as a comedy. Yeah, there's no second guessing that way for sure. And then similarly, in limited series, Adolescence was the big winner there. It was the freight train that everyone expected it to be, and it even wound up robbing Colin Farrell. I think all of us had thought that, as I recall, that Farrell was going to win this based on everything, that all the precursors, he'd won everything. I think Denton, you were the one who thought Stephen Graham has that shot there, and that wound up being the case. He pulled out in the end.
Earlier in the night, I think on Slack, I saw all the Adolescence stuff. I'm like, Colin is losing. But someone, a listener in our last predictions podcast mentioned to us, you guys are really like glossing over Stephen Graham here, because we were all just kind of like, oh yeah, Colin Farrell. But it's true. I mean, Adolescence had such a strong night, and obviously Stephen got swept along in that, and deservingly so. I mean, he won a few Emmys, and it's not like it was undeserved, and he just went along with the sweep. It was a great performance. So, I mean, congratulations to him.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And Krista Milioti winning for The Penguin. She is so happy today that Adolescence does not have a lead actress.
Yes. And Marcus,
and again, The Penguin still won more Emmys, correct? So, both in limited series and drama, the show with the most wins didn't actually pull off the big victory.
Yeah, Penguin came away with 9, which was the most for limited, and Adolescence had 8.
Right.
It also shows you that you really can't go off of Creative Arts. I mean, other than maybe that casting, but Creative Arts is a different ball game than the awards that happen in prime time.
Right.
Yeah, the casting, they continue to be the most important precursor categories, because all 3 of the casting winners went on to win series.
Even if the Penguin wins an overall vote count because of the creative arts, people are going to remember Adolescence's win because they were up there throughout the night, whereas the Penguin only got that. Kristen was the only person accepting a statuette on primetime Emmy night itself. So it lingers in the memory as being like, oh, Adolescence was the biggest one, even though in total vote count, Penguin had 9 to 8 for sure. Yeah. And Marcus, you flagged something interesting too in terms of the vote split possibilities and how Owen Cooper and Aaron Doherty in supporting actress overcame some of the different categories with vote split possibilities. Do you want to walk people through your theory there?
Yeah, so I'm a nerd for numbers. There were 9 categories of the 26 where there were vote split possibilities, and of those 9, only limited supporting actor, limited supporting actress, and drama supporting actor for Tremel Tillman. Those were the only ones where they overcame a vote split. Even somebody like Harrison Ford, which I was pretty convinced Harrison Ford would win. You know, is it possible that his co-star Michael Urie took some of his votes? Because Michael did win at the Critics' Choice Awards, so he clearly has a fan base. Is that possible? Is that why Harrison lost to Jeff Hiller? Maybe.
I mean, I think a lot of votes went to Ike, obviously. He was actually the front runner. People keep saying Harrison was. I think that's just what we thought. But Ike had the Gold Derby odds on his side. And obviously the studio was sweeping. So, I mean, Jeff Hiller winning. You have to remember, though, too, when you have 6 nominees, you don't need a huge percentage to actually win. Like, if there's enough votes that get filtered down, still...
And there were 7 in that
still
category.
Jeff Hiller, shocking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was in 5th place in our odds, which I'm curious, actually, who was below him? Coleman Domingo was in 6th and Michael Urie was in 7th.
What was interesting to me is it seemed like people were pushing back too against the sort of narrative of the movie stars coming in. So we had Ford, we had Farrell, even Kathy Bates to a certain extent, as having that movie star sheen and that glamour would almost help push them into the Emmys. But it seems like the voting membership in general went with the sort of working TV actors from Jeff Hiller to Stephen Graham. Like these are the people who ended up winning in the end, which is really interesting. I don't know that it was a decisive pushback against movie star glamour, but it certainly was a notable trend. That in each case it went to the working TV actor as opposed to the sort of visiting movie star in TV.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, what does Colin Farrell have to do to win an award in this town? He can't win an Oscar. He can't win an Emmy. I feel bad for him today because he was really an overwhelming frontrunner there.
Right. He won the Critics' Choice, Golden Globe, and SAG Award. He was about to hit this grand slam for the award season, and then he just couldn't get the big one. As Marcus said, he can't get that Emmy, he can't get the Oscar. And it always seems like he's just on the verge. Like Banshees of Inisherin, he was just on the verge of that Oscar, but he just can't get that number 1 slot.
And same with Harrison Ford as well. I mean, he's been waiting for people love him. People thought, this was going to be his year finally. But Jeff Hiller is far from not a deserving winner. He's terrific on the show. So the fact that he won, it was a wonderful moment for everyone. But it came at the expense of sort of Ford's historic achievement there, as everyone rooting for him to finally get an acting award and recognition. You have to wonder what he has to do. He campaigned more than he ever has in the past. Really, he seemed to really want this statue. So yeah, it is telling that didn't fall that way this time.
And Gold Derby caught up with Jeff Hiller on the red carpet beforehand, and he's like, I'm not going to win. Like, you guys are crazy. I'm not going to win. And then afterwards, I guess he ran into our social media manager, Jacqueline, and he's like, bitch, you were right. I won.
He even held up the Gold Derby placard, and he was like, if anyone says I'm not winning, it's you. It's you. And he was right. No one thought he was going to win. I mean, he was my favorite upset of the night. If we can go there, I mean, this was the first year that they were nominated for any Emmys. No one thought he was going to win. I've been rooting for this show, and I've been its cheerleader. And it was canceled. They didn't go out willingly, but they had a great final season, and this is really just a great way to cap off Somebody Somewhere, the little comedy that could from HBO Powerhouse.
And we mentioned Kathy Bates briefly. Why do we think she lost? I mean, clearly she did not have the actor support. We saw that at the SAG Awards, but she was not up against Britt Lauer there. So she was up against Anna Sawai, who beat her at SAG. So it was a different field. I thought maybe with a different field, she could have prevailed. Is it because Matlock only had the one nomination? Is it the broadcast bias. You know, CBS hasn't won this category since Juliana Margulies for the Good Wife. What happened? What is your theory of why Kathy lost this?
I think the broadcast bias led into it only getting one nomination, but the real true reason is, and like in my mind, it's like everyone loves Kathy Bates. So you're like, oh yeah, emotionally, we want to see her win. We want to see her succeed. And she really wanted it. She was campaigning hard. She wasn't afraid to say, yes, I want it. I want to win this Emmy. But then in retrospect, like I'm like, stupid. Like she's up against someone from a show with 27 nominations. Like, this is not a surprise. 27 won. So it shouldn't have been a surprise. And kudos to people who used their brain and predicted Britt Lauer for this one. I did not. But going forward, you can't predict with emotion. The stats were there. She lost the SAG award, and she was up against someone from a total powerhouse of a show.
And then, if anything, I was thinking that the broadcast bias I think you suggested would work in her favor because no other show occupied that space, and the sort of the broadcast roots of the Pit were certainly something that played in that favor. The idea was the Pit represented a throwback in a streaming era to ER and to those earlier broadcast medical procedurals, and that seemed to help it. It framed it well for voters. So Kathy Bates would seem to have benefited, in my mind, from that interest in sort of saluting broadcast as well. But I think then you're right that the sort of juggernaut that was Severance overall, that was embraced, and it allowed Britt to overcome in one of the weaker categories to be with less competition to be the winner for the show there.
I would also say don't cry for Kathy Bates. She has 2 Emmys and an Oscar, and she's on one of the top rated television shows. So she's doing just fine. And Britt Lauer, congratulations to her, because this was her first Emmy. And so that's a big deal for her.
First nomination, too.
And deserved. I mean, she deserved it. It wasn't undeserved.
Matlock films in Los Angeles, so I thought maybe that would have helped Kathy, because it clearly helped the Pit.
Right. Exactly. We should also talk about some of the snubs that happened during the show. The one I like to call out, and then Marcus, you wrote about this, was Beyonce just not showing up. She wasn't snubbed by the award; she snubbed the award, which is a very Beyonce thing to do, and did not bring her presence to the show. But what were some of the snubs on your part? So you,
I wanted to mention Beyonce for a second, because on the pre-show, Gayle King was saying, oh, I think Beyonce's here. She's not doing the red carpet, but I think she's inside. She was here yesterday scouting it out. So I'm like, is this happening? And then halfway through the show, I'm like, is she just backstage hiding? Like, where is she? Because the camera would have shown her if she was there. And then her category came and went, and I'm like, she's not here. Gayle King lied to me.
Let me tell you something about Beyonce. Beyonce doesn't have power with the Television Academy like she does the Grammys. When she's nominated for Grammys, she shows up an hour and a half into the show whenever she feels like it, as soon as her first award is being presented, and they make this grand entrance for her, and the host mentions, oh, Beyonce is here. It's a huge deal. She's not getting that kind of treatment at the Television Academy. And if she doesn't control the narrative, she ain't coming. That's Beyonce. She's the queen bee.
Right.
But she did win an Emmy at the Creative Arts. It was a juried award, so there were no other nominees, but she won for costumes. So she's an Emmy-winning costume designer.
And she didn't have to show up to take it. She just has that. But what were some of the snubs on your part that you wanted to mention?
We have the White Lotus getting 23 nominations and only winning for the main title theme music. I mean, it lost 22. Not a lot of shows can say I lost 22 Emmys in the same year. And I think its best chances were probably supporting Walton Goggins for supporting actor, and either Parker Posey or Carrie Coon for supporting actress, but it didn't win anything. And is that because of maybe there was a White Lotus backlash, or was it just because they loved the Pit and Severance so much? Maybe a combination.
I mean, it's funny because I know, Denton, you were saying that whenever you were talking to people throughout the Emmy season, people would always say, oh, I love White Lotus. I still watch White Lotus. So that show, people love it, but maybe it's the absence of Jennifer Coolidge, too. I think everyone was able to coalesce around Jennifer Coolidge as the face of that show.
Bring her back.
Right. Yeah, right. Exactly. I kept expecting almost there was a lot of spirituality stuff on season 3. I thought maybe there'll be a reincarnation somehow, that like it does seem like lacking a Jennifer Coolidge. That show doesn't have that central acting spoke that people can sort of agree. Otherwise, it's just like lots of great actors and it's hard to choose your favorite as a result.
Or maybe they could do a prequel season. where she's a younger version so that they don't have to do the ghost.
Right. Or it's the Minecraft. They tie in with Minecraft movie, and it's Minecraft White Lotus, and then we can get to that universe.
Yeah, Parker Posey was sort of that, person this season, but as we've said before, it wasn't the same impact. Even though Tsunami, there's just a lot. There was a lot to hold on to, and that's why I thought she could still pull off the win. But there was such a battle between her and Carrie from her own show, and then not to mention there were other nominees. So that just opened the doors right open for Catherine Lanasa to walk through. And some of us saw that coming, and some of us refused to walk through that door. The other one I wanted to mention, though, was Dying for Sex. Got nothing.
Right.
And that was one of my favorite shows of the TV season as well. I thought that was a great series, but it's up against The Penguin and Adolescence, and it just couldn't get that number one slot. Some people, like Marcus here, thought Michelle could pull off an upset for Best Actress, but it wasn't meant to be. But again, don't cry for her either. She's got her Emmys and 5 Oscar nominations.
Yeah.
So
speaking of movie stars who wound up getting overlooked, you again thought that the movie star factor would play in her favor. Although she also won the Emmy for Fosse Verdon, so she also has that history going in as well.
Yeah.
Last of Us won 8 Emmys for season 1 and only 1 for season 2. Another big one I sort of mentioned earlier, but The Bear going from 11 wins to 0 wins.
Right.
That is quite a downturn, and it had 13 nominations total. I think we all knew that it was going to lose some of the bigger ones, especially because Jeremy Allen White and Io Debris announced earlier that they weren't even going to come to the show.
Right.
I think maybe their biggest chance was Jamie Lee Curtis the previous week at the Creative Arts. And when she lost that, I'm like, maybe The Bear's going to go 0 for 13. And it actually did. Crazy.
Right. Yeah. Now, it'll be interesting to see if that changes their approach to how they campaign for season 4, because certainly they are now I don't think they can category switch necessarily, but they'd have to. But there is that bloom off the rose in terms of considering it a legitimate comedy when there's so many other shows like The Studio now in contention.
Yeah, even Nate Bargatze mentioned that in his opening SNL sketch about how it's I guess he called it a laugh out loud comedy as a joke.
Right.
I do like this when they're presenting these awards, though. This popped in my head. I do still like when they do the set recreations. So we did get some cool reunions there. Although I think the Golden Girls theme song was lacking. I think it could have been updated. I thought Reba was great. I don't think she needed Little Big Town. And it would have been cool if they updated it for the modern version people know and love. And if they just had like a gospel or R&B singer come out and just rip that soulful viral version that we all know of that song now. I think that would have taken it up a notch and given the crowd a little more boost of energy.
Yeah, the other sets they sort of recreated was the Gilmore Girls set and then the Survivor set, which, this had been promoted as like a 50th anniversary season for season 50, 25th anniversary of the number of years for Survivor. And it was just Jeff kind of presenting a category. So I was a little bit bummed by that. And the Grey's Anatomy reunion, unfortunately, didn't happen. It was supposed to be Jesse Williams with Eric Dane. Eric Dane, I guess, couldn't make it, maybe for health reasons, maybe something else. We don't know. But unfortunately, that didn't happen.
They had to give Jeff Probst the ultimate presenting spot, though, because he was giving away that garbage award that only had 2 nominees. So they had to do something to make it interesting.
We need to combine the scripted variety with the talk variety. Like it used to be combined. We need to combine those back.
Ridiculous.
Right. Yeah. No. And it wasn't a sort of classic reunion because the show's still on the air. But I did like seeing the Law and Order SVU cast show up at the end there to present Best Drama, and Mariska Hargitay got her flowers from her cast members there as for playing Olivia Benson all these years. So that was a nice little moment, and you could tell the camaraderie between them is still there, and it was a nice reminder of again the sort of broadcast legacy broadcast show giving the award to the Pitt, which again is an NBC. Based in NBC broadcast history as well. So that was a nice little moment at the end of it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Ice-T was on the red carpet on a show I was watching, and he's like, I didn't want to do this because I wasn't nominated, but then my wife's like, well, what if they did it without you? And he's like, oh, good point. I need to be involved in this. So I'm glad he showed up.
He also shared that the show will probably continue until Mariska doesn't want to do it anymore. So it sounds like it begins and ends with her, which makes sense. But they're not going to try to recast that spot.
That's a lot of pressure for her, knowing that if she leaves, hundreds of people lose their jobs.
The entire New York theater industry is wiped out.
Yeah.
They don't have somewhere they can go, and they're not doing.
That's my favorite thing to do. If you go to like a Broadway show, look at the playbill and see in the credits list, it's like I always go and count how many people have been on Law and Order. It's just really something to do before the show starts.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, it's funny. Moments like that certainly added some elements to the night, because as a broadcast, like the main things really were the surprise wins. I think I don't know that people are going to remember any of the hosting was not particularly memorable. Some of the speeches were nice, but I think the 45-second rule meant that we didn't get some truly great speeches apart from Kristen Milioti, because everyone had that in the back of their heads, and so they seem to say. But so at least the reunions offered some showmanship. How did you feel about the show overall? I mean, was it something that would you have watched it apart from all of the surprise wins, or did the surprises make the night for you?
Other than the recurring bet with the Boys and Girls Club, I thought it was a good show. Some of the presenters really impressed me. The trio from Paradise, James Marsden, Sterling K. Brown, Julian Nicholson. I mean, that just proves why you need chemistry for these moments. You're only on screen for maybe 30 seconds. You have to have something that makes the audience pay attention, and they definitely had that. Some of these other pairings, I don't even want to like call anyone out, but I was like, why are you with you don't even know each other? And it came across like they didn't know each other.
Yeah, I mean, Ray Romano and Brad Garrett had that chemistry, but the bit went on, and they were funny, but it went on too long. Like we said, like the presenters needed a timer more than the people giving the acceptance speeches. And I don't know why every awards show, they think these bits are going to be such a hit and so funny, and they almost never are unless it's like Amy Poehler involved.
Yeah, I was surprised that Amy didn't come out with Tina, that Tina was alone this year. Usually they pair the two of them together. So.
Yeah. She was a good solo one, though. Like,
right.
She commanded that stage. Every word she said was brilliant. I loved, as a American Horror Story fan, seeing Sarah Paulson and Evan Peters. And they were kind of teasing Ryan Murphy, like, what are you waiting for? Get season 13 on the ground. It's been 2 years, Ryan. We're waiting.
From their mouths to Ryan's ears, exactly. Yeah, it feels like he just has to get back into that mindset, maybe get back into the horror mindset and get it going. But we should also talk. So we're at the end of this Emmy season. We've seen how things go. What are some of the biggest lessons? We've touched on some of them already, but what's the biggest lesson you'll take away after the season, thinking ahead to next year?
I mean, I would say vote with your brain. I mean, predict with your brain. The signs were all there for most things. I mean, I don't think there was anything to show you that Jeff Hiller was going to win. I mean, I think that's sort of, we can't get 100% on everything, but there were clear signs, or that Andor or Slow Horses. But we could see that the Pitt was going to win series. We could see that Britt Lauer was going to win actress. So you have to just kind of pay attention to the signs that are in front of you, and try not to vote with emotion on who you want to win, but who logically is probably going to.
And I think, in a certain sense, campaigns matter. FYC events matter. I mean, how many times did we see Tremel Tillman with that band? And I think that's why he won today, because I think he was way lower in the odds before the nominations came out. I think John Turturro was actually number one pre-noms. And then when all those clips of Tremel with the band came out, we saw him rise up the odds. Things like that. Like, I hope more of these studios do fun FYC stunts. I think stunts is a good word. Things that go viral, and things like that matter.
I would say, sort of piggybacking on that, it also helps to have a really strong message at a certain point. I think the Pitt really coalesced when it had that message about, one, saluting medical workers. Everyone made sure to hit that all the time. And then two, just supporting LA, the LA filmmaking industry and TV industry. Like that really resonated at a time when there's a lot of uncertainty about where production's going and the hope for more production shooting in LA. So I think the fact that they stayed on message throughout, whenever they appeared at events and hitting that, I think really resonated and helped push the show forward, even if it's it's the messaging around the show in addition to the show itself a lot of times.
Even Noah Wiley's tuxedo was made by the company that makes the hospital scrubs on the show. So it's like he even went to the Emmys, with that narrative, wearing that narrative, which was really good. And I'm so happy he won 2 Emmys for a lead actor and as a producer after 5 losses for ER. I mean, granted, he's still playing a doctor, but if the scrubs fit, wear them.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that was a nice that was a nice touch, and you could tell how grateful he was to be recognized that way. I think that like all the acting winners, I think even if you had other people picked, the people who wound up winning the acting awards this year, I think across the board all the performances were deserving. So yeah, it was nice to see. But anyway,
Spread the wealth.
Yes, exactly. Spread the wealth around. Well, that brings the curtain down on our Emmy season, on our Emmy coverage. Head over to Gold Derby still to watch all our analysis, our post-show interviews, our on-the-ground coverage. We were all over the Emmy Awards, and we're now ready to take a break and talk about Oscars instead. So we're going to ramp up for that soon. But thanks to both of you for amazing Emmy coverage all season long, and I hope you get some time to watch movies instead of television for the next few months. We'll be back soon with more Awards Magnet talk. Look for our conversation switch to movies, but we'll still have all your latest analysis, odds, all those things. Head over to Prediction Center. And as always, send us your thoughts, questions, comments, voicemails about all things fall movie season, all things Oscar, all things next year's Emmys to awardsmagnet@goldderby.com. Talk to you soon. Thanks for listening to Awards Magnet, Gold Derby podcast. Like what you heard? Leave us a review wherever you listen to podcasts. Awards Magnet is produced by Andrew Merrill. Our logo is designed by Chelsea Sakura. Please like and subscribe to stay on top of all the awards news and email us at awardsmagnet@goldderby.com.